Hello, welcome to Small Town Underground, and welcome to this segment of Small Town Underground. This is our second of 3 interviews that we are doing for the vacant and contested position for the Walker County Board of Education over in the Chattanooga Valley area. We are sitting now with Bill Oliver, who is running for this position. And we're going to be talking to Bill and asking him questions, and you, the voter, will decide who you want for this school board position. So thank you, Bill, for being a part of this. It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, and I'm honored that you do this, for the Walker County residents to make a good decision. So I really appreciate being here. Yes, sir. We appreciate having you. And I want to just kind of get right into it. We'll start. First, will you tell the audience who you are, where you kind of come from, your background, and why you're running? Bill Oliver. I've lived in Walker County for 27 years. I met my wife, and she was from here. She is passed now, Gail Painter Oliver. And it brought some nice ties to be able to raise a family in Walker County. I have a stepdaughter and a daughter that went through the schools in Walker County. I look back on my time at Walker County. I've met some unbelievable people. I did all 28 years at Walker County at Ridgeland High School. I'm retired now. My daughter is a teacher at Ridgeland High School, and another Coach Oliver, which she always laughs about. She's carrying on the tradition, she tells me. And one of the reasons why I'm running is that she said, "Hey, Mama would have wanted you to run." And, a lot of people know Gail, and from that area, she knew the aunt, the uncle, the brother, the sister. She just knew everybody. And we do miss that out of her, but I think that she would be honored that I'm running for the post 3. Okay. And nice. And that's Chattanooga Valley. Correct? Chattanooga Valley. Okay. Well, we're going to jump into some questions and just go down some standardized stuff, and you let us know, and we'll give you the last word, okay? Okay. First on the list would be, how do you feel about the public education and public schools in general? Well, through the years, I look back and always wondered, of the different positions on the school board, and always wondered why isn't any educators, that people that were teachers that lived the part in the classroom. And there's not, I know there's a few, but not many. And I feel like they could do a better job. I believe in term limits. People that serve for 20 years, I get it. They're compelled to do a good job for 20 years, but I feel like, somebody doing it for 1 term, 2 terms, and letting somebody else come in and have some different ideas. I think change is good. People don't like change, but I'm a big believer leadership starts at the top, and change is good. Different ideas, what people look at, other people look differently at. Mm-hmm. So, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. I get it. I like that idea. What do you consider as the role of a school board member? Maybe to bring somebody new who's going to bring some different ideas. I definitely think that from my experience, the superintendent runs the school board. I always believed it should be the school board running the superintendent. I think they have it backwards for whatever reason. I know it's a tough job no matter what, but maybe some new leadership would bring some different ideas. Right. I'm also against property taxes continuing to go up. The millage rate 6 times in a row. One of the reasons why I'm running, my goodness, 6 times in a row. You have the E-Splosh money that builds buildings and things like that, but you need to be accountable of the money that you're spending. It just can't. There's a lot of people on fixed incomes in Walker County, and you continually to raise the taxes. Right. And I think part of that is the public's kind of being asleep at the wheel and not knowing more about the school board and how it works, and how we've had pretty much two different millage rates where the school is controlled by one. And it just seems like that we're learning that the burden is always on the property tax owner. So obviously, I think that's something that needs to be looked at in a much different way moving forward, as we sort of get this the public more involved in the school systems and the transparency.
I agree with you. Just by talking with people, every year you're going to raise the millage rate. It's just like, it's almost funny, but it takes the voter to make a conscious decision to make a change. Right. And I don't think you just go into and just check off the incumbent. You have to look at, who's running, what ideas they have and what they can do for the county.
Right. Something
different has got to take place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What is your vision and your goals for Walker County Schools?
When I get elected, I think you go in and you find out as much as you can. You have to work with 4 other individuals. So, is it give or take? You see how it works. You stand on your commitment to your post, and then you go from there. I feel like, that you have to make some change. And where you make those changes, I think they need to be a gradual thing, and hopefully it works out.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about strengths and weaknesses. You've been in the school system here in Walker County. Let's start with strengths. What do you think the strengths are in the Walker County system, the education system?
I love Ridgeland High School's Honors Academy and the workload that those guys get. And my daughter was one of them. And when they leave, I knew that she was ready for college. I can't say that about everybody that came across my path, and I think that we as taxpayers, we need to make a better effort to make sure that every kid is ready for work, school. Can they get a college degree and do better for themselves, right, or go into the work world? When I first started at Ridgeland High School, there was a lot of metals class and things like that, and a construction class, and they kind of did away with that for a long time. Right. And we all know that everybody needs a plumber and everybody right. needs an electrician, and those jobs, especially with with everything that's being presented, some of those jobs are going to go away, but never electrician, never a plumber, never a guy that builds a house.
Exactly.
So, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for those guys if they are turned on to that's a good path to go to make a decent living in life.
So that might be part of your weaknesses of the system. Maybe we need to bring back more of that technical learning.
I think it should be everything. I get it. Growing something is good, and I feel like our different programs do a really good job. But I'm going to go back to the early days of the metals class and right. teaching people how to weld.
Right.
Is big. You can get a great job being a welder.
Sure. And I did that very same thing. Welder for many years. So I'm a believer.
Yeah. So I feel like we need to go maybe in a different path to get other kids ready for.
Sure. It's not always about. Let's face it. It's not always about college.
Every kid's not going to go to college.
Exactly.
So there's some great programs out there. A lot of kids are interested. I coached football for 32 years, and the amount of kids I turned on to going into the military because they didn't have any hope
right.
of a future, and they've lasted. A few of them have lasted almost 20 years.
Wow!
So it's amazing if that's the path you want to take. I think it's something to explore.
Very nice. Okay. This is a pretty interesting question about homeschool versus public school. Walker County school system has lost a large number of students and parents who have opted for private schools. Should there be a strategy to reattract these students, and do you have any suggestions on that?
I'm a big public school guy. I feel like it's not reality. I get that parents are cautious and they homeschool their kid. But it's nice to go to a public education where the diversity in the school, and life is about diversity. You're not always going to be friends or go out with people that you look like. So, you know, I love the diversity part. I know that I love some of my best memories are you know, being in the gym and being at a basketball game for our special kids, and then performing, and the kids, you know, getting around those kids in the audience, and you know, cheering them on and seeing that part of it. I love that. You know, there are kids in wheelchairs, there are special needs kids, and I love a kid that recognizes that and takes time out for that special needs kid. And you see it all the time. A kid opening a door, a kid helping, pushing a wheelchair. I don't think you get that at a private school. Right. You know, you see that in the real world every day. So I feel like, you know, that approach is something.
Social skills, more or less.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
Okay.
You know, everybody doesn't have the means to go to a private school. I started Silverdale's football program in 03, 04, 05. I was just the coach. I would have loved to have, you know, gotten a full-time job there, but, you know, it didn't pay as much as the Georgia payment. So, you know, I was just like, okay, I'm here, you know, so, but a private Christian school, I get that part. You know, if you have the means and that's what you want to do, you know, is it a better education? I don't know if it's better.
Right.
You know, having a daughter go through the Honors Academy at Ridgeland High School was everything. She got done at UTC in 3 years.
Sure.
You know, so I love that. You know, I mean, she shortened the effect, you know.
Absolutely. All right. How do you plan to communicate your vision and promote transparency as a board member?
You know, I feel like you need to be accountable to your post 3 people that live in your area and do what they think that they're going to do. And what better way through Facebook of people messaging you and reaching out to you that way. You know, going to the schools. My grandson goes to Saddle Ridge, K through 8, and they do a great job over there, K through 8. You never thought, you know, okay. And when I go there to pick him up, which is a couple times a week, I go into the school building. I'm loving what I see that goes on there. And then going to different events to see, you know, where the need is, I think is big. Being accountable as somebody in the community to be visible.
Absolutely. I agree. Saddle Ridge is great. I had 2 kids in public schools.
I love it.
This is another question about like the finances. We touched a little bit upon this with taxes. What is your experience with paying attention to finances and contributing to adopting like a fiscally sound district budget? Or how do you feel about that?
I feel like once you get into, and you'll see a little more that I know about. But, you know, just to be accountable of the budget, of thinking, well, if you didn't raise taxes, what can you still do? I love down there in Chattanooga, going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or no, Monday's off. They go Tuesday through Friday, and they save a lot of money that way. So there are different ways, and I'm not saying that that's the way to go, but there are different ways to save money. Right. So I feel like, you know, you have to get in and, you know, see what's going on and how the money is spent. You know, raising taxes shouldn't be always
especially right property taxes.
Property taxes.
Seems like the burden is always on the people that have a
very much so, especially when there's an e-splosh and you're not having to pay for that brand new building. You're not having to pay for some of the tech stuff that you're getting through. You know, having the 1.5% or 1% or whatever it is that we vote on. And I'm always, you know, pleased that what would our taxes be if we didn't have that? Right. You know, and I feel like that when you look at all that, you can make a wise decision.
Absolutely. Okay. So what would your assessment be of the current local salary supplement, which would be including the pay scale for educational support personnel like bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodials, obviously there's a difference in pay there and the competition. So what would you make of that to help those type of workers, clerical, teachers, assistants?
I know that there's always a shortage of bus drivers, and you see the big signs. I feel like, you're doubling up routes, putting hardships on, kids waiting longer to get to school. They're waiting longer to get home. It's just something that you'd have to look at to make sense of. But obviously they don't make as much as other places. Mm-hmm. So taking that burden off of the bus driver and what a daunting job. They're if you looked out in the morning at 7 a.m., it's still dark out until the time changes. Right. So, and they're running the bus, 6 o'clock in the morning, and, just so it's a task. You want, somebody more than qualified to drive your kids to school and from school. So I think it's, and that goes with cafeteria workers. It shouldn't all be, hey, why do they work here? For the insurance? I get that part. The insurance is good insurance, but it's got to be a little more,
Right. And also talking about security and insurance for the kids, are you interested in pursuing ideas that would make our schools safer, maybe non-lethal, or programs for teachers that we can keep our students safer in this particular age that we're living in, this fear and school incidents?
I had gone to my 40-year class reunion in Coral Springs, Florida. I grew up down in South Florida, and I went to a ball game, and you went through a metal detector. Mm-hmm. You went into school, there's metal detectors. I think it takes, some coordinating and understanding that's just the world we live in. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't think that kids need a locker anymore. The hide things in lockers. At Ridgeland High School, they don't even use the lockers anymore. Mm-hmm. There aren't, books. It's all digital. So you don't even need the locker situation or hiding a gun in a locker or whatever. I definitely think that Georgia schools, I know that Tennessee has adopted it, and there's some standards that you have to go by, but being, having certain people that are armed in school would lessen the effect. Mm-hmm. You'd have to go through training, and
whether it's lethal or non-lethal though, but the options are there.
And
that helps mitigate any potential. The more security you have, even non-lethal would potentially decrease anybody trying
to know that somebody might have a gun in the school as a teacher. I love that there's a resource officer, but the resource officer always isn't there.
Right. And per school type situation, it can be very hard to manage something.
Very true. So. Okay.
But you'd be open to suggestions and looking.
Oh, very much so. Looking at every idea to keep our schools safe. My daughter teaches at one, mm-hmm. So why wouldn't I? My grandson is at one, so why wouldn't I? I think that anything that they're going to put on the table, and we don't talk enough about it,
right?
Because it happens way, way too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's see here. How would you measure success for a superintendent of schools? Like, what's your measurement of a successful superintendent?
Well, how are you going to manage? Leadership stops at the top. And I'm a big, we're all going to reflect the leadership that we're all dealing with. And I through my years at Ridgeland High School, had 8 different principals. And, some were better than others. You got along with others differently than you did with whoever. So, I always looked at how their leadership style was and how they got, enough out of, 100 teachers in a building, mm-hmm. Which is a lot. So I feel like, Mr. Raines has done, some good things. And I feel like he's dropped the ball on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And is he the answer? I feel like, some change would be good. I definitely think that when you look at test scores and that you look at that kids aren't reading at the rate that they should be reading at, let's start with that. And then we can go to different, it's a it's a tight subject when you're talking about somebody's leadership and what they've done. But the perfect example is the school board. He works for the school board, and those 5 individuals, I don't know if they've done enough to understand that.
Right. I think it's a process everybody's kind of learning together. So it's been this one way sort of business as usual, and now it's becoming a very much more transparent way where you're going to a lot more of the public that's going to be involved with the school board and the superintendent, and it's not just going to be a cut and dry situation. Everybody's going to be looking at everything.
Yeah, and they've had some tough press about some different issues that they've had, and I don't, it goes deep with me of, how they run their school board meetings and how you're able to speak at them. And, right. It's and I understand there's got to be a certain way you do things like that. You can't have everybody speaking at once, and you need to be on the docket. I get that. But you're basically controlling what's being said and what's being done.
Sure, absolutely. All right. And looking to the future, I think you answered this already. Would you be willing to qualify and run a campaign once this term is fulfilled, or you're once and done? How do you look at if you were to be on the board, what is your long-term goals?
No, I feel like, not one and done, but maybe 2 and done. Sure. But I'm not a 20-year guy. Yeah. I turned 60 this past March. And I don't think I think that some new people and new ideas would be nice. I never understand why we vote for a president every to do 2 terms, and it takes them a year. 1 6-year term and be done with it. Right. Don't have term limits. All these guys go to Congress and they end up being millionaires. And right. And senators too. I just think there should be term limits.
Right. Well, that's good. That's pretty much most of what we have covered. So I want to give you the last word. And before we start that, how can people reach you for your campaign? Do you have any social media or a website?
Yeah.
We'll post the link also on the video.
So, I'm a 30-year, I'm a dad. I'm a 30-year teacher. I'm a football coach, and I believe things ought to be done a certain way with some kind of meaning. I think that if you practice real well during the week, that you're going to play well.
Right. And
I feel like some preparation goes a long ways. I love playing, I was a PE teacher, physical education teacher, but I love playing the different games with the kids. We always didn't play one game. Mm-hmm. We'd always play different games. And the kids would come in with requests. And I always loved that part because they were excited about being there. I'm a football coach. I'm a PE teacher. I'm a dad. I'm proud of the college I went to, Carson-Newman University. It was a Christian education, and I have those values. I feel like it's important of who I am. I'm a truth teller, and people always like to hear the truth.
Certainly.
My daughter came home from a game last night, and I could tell right away they didn't do real well just by her demeanor. So I didn't handle it the best because I laughed, because and she got after me pretty good and ended up having to apologize to her, and we had a good conversation after that. But that's who I am. I'm going to tell the truth. I always don't tell it in the time frame that some people think I should.
Right.
And I'm upfront with people, and it's just always how I've been. I don't mind telling a joke or two. I enjoy that part of life. But I'm, a lot of people, they look at you, and I'm a changed person. My wife died 4 years ago, and a lot of people knew Gail. She was a big supporter with the different Hallie played basketball, and she was a big supporter. Lindsay was in the band. She was a big supporter. And it's just who I am on that part. But when your spouse dies 4.5 years later, I'm a different person.
Right, I understand.
I take a little more time. I take my breath and I think about it. And it's just where I didn't do it as much. I'm not as hot-headed as I was.
Right.
I look at things differently, and it's for the better. That life you're going to change in life, and it's just unfortunate that I don't have my partner in life. But it also has changed me to effect where I feel like the Lord wants us to go forward.
Right.
We're not here forever, so going forward, and I had my mom and dad were big supporters. I believe in giving a kid a second chance. I always didn't understand why a teacher wouldn't give a kid a second chance.
Right.
You don't know how that kid got up this morning. You don't know what his home situation. Why wouldn't you give him a second chance?
Right.
Maybe even a third chance. Depends on what he did.
Gotcha.
So, I enjoyed, teaching and having a good time in class, and understanding relationships that you build with kids was everything in my teaching career. I see kids every day, and I always say, an example, I coached this kid, Stephen Pearson, early in life, and I said, Stephen, how old are you? Coach, I'm 46. And I was like, wow, you're 46. So life does go by fast. You see those kids as 13, 14 years old, and then they grow up into, a man and having a life. And
yeah, I'm raising their own families here.
It's just huge.
Okay.
So I'm proud of that. And I'm proud that I did it in one place. And I feel like you asked that question earlier about the local supplement. I feel like it can be a little more.
Right.
Whitfield County is probably a lot higher. Catoosa County's higher. I had a friend go to Whitfield County. He coaches one less sport. He makes $8,000 more doing the same job he does.
Wow.
So I feel like we're losing good teachers.
Right.
And I think that's part of it too, maintaining, and then I love, you choose where you live, but I love the teacher that lives in the county that they work in.
Right.
Living in Walker County, they don't go up to Hamilton County or Catoosa County.
Right. They want to be in the community.
They're in the community. And I lived that. I lived that part of it. You just look at things differently. I'm a believer in that.
Okay. Well, we'll certainly post a link to any social media that you have to go along with it. So if anybody wants to reach out to you or find more information,
you can go through Facebook, Bill Oliver.
Okay.
I've got my fist in there. I was at a ball game, never changed it. Most people find me.
Okay. Great. Well, listen, Bill, we appreciate you coming in for Small Town Underground. It's great to meet you, and good luck on the campaign trail.
I appreciate you having me.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll have our third interview coming out shortly, and we'll see you later.
The legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting booty. They
said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.